The cameras are rolling on another season of Sister Wives, and just when you think the drama couldn't get any more explosive, Meri Brown drops a comment so devastating it practically shatters what's left of Kody Brown's ego. She didn't yell, she didn't scream, she simply looked into the camera and said something that cut deeper than any argument ever could. Kody used to be kind. He used to have a light in his eyes. He used to be a different guy. And with those words, Meri didn't just throw shade at her ex-husband. She delivered a eulogy for the man he once was. Let that sink in for a moment. This wasn't some petty jab about his hair or his questionable fashion choices. This was Meri basically announcing to the world that the Kody Brown everyone fell in love with, the charismatic patriarch who promised a beautiful plural family, is dead and gone. The man walking around now wearing his face is someone else entirely, someone darker, someone colder, someone who doesn't even recognize the person he used to be. The timing of this comment couldn't be more brutal. It comes right after Kody himself admits on camera that he prioritized keeping Robyn safely kept while the other wives spiraled into jealousy and resentment. He actually said those words out loud as if it was a reasonable explanation for destroying 3 marriages, as if protecting one wife at the expense of all the others was somehow noble instead of catastrophically selfish. And Meri, who spent decades begging for scraps of his attention, who held on longer than anyone should have, finally calls it what it is. The light in his eyes has gone out. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Meri's comment isn't just about nostalgia for better days, it's an indictment. It's her way of saying that the man who broke her heart, who abandoned Christine, who neglected Janelle, isn't even the same person she married. That man wouldn't have done these things. That man actually cared about his family. That man had kindness woven into his DNA. The transformation is so complete, so total, that Meri can barely recognize him anymore. And the question burning through everyone's mind is simple but haunting. What happened? How does someone go from being the beloved center of a plural family to a man so changed that his own wife can publicly mourn who he used to be? Was it Robyn's influence? Was it the pressure of trying to keep multiple wives happy and failing spectacularly? Or did the real Kody Brown simply reveal himself after years of pretending to be someone he wasn't? Because here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Maybe Kody didn't change at all. Maybe the kind man with the light in his eyes was always a performance, and what we're seeing now is who he's been all along. So what exactly triggered Meri's brutal assessment of Kody's transformation? It all circles back to one explosive confession that Kody himself made on camera. And honestly, the audacity is breathtaking. He looked directly into the lens and admitted that he doesn't know what went wrong with his marriages. But he knows one thing for certain. The house that Robyn was moving out of, the one loaded with emotional baggage and resentment, stirred up jealousy among the other wives because he was making sure that Robyn was safely kept. Safely kept. Let those words marinate for a second. While Christine was raising kids mostly alone, while Janelle was juggling finances and feeling invisible, while Meri was desperately trying to save a marriage that had been dead for years, Kody was focused on keeping Robyn safely kept. And he said this like it was completely reasonable, like prioritizing one wife's safety and comfort while the others drowned in neglect was just basic husband behavior. The level of delusion is staggering. Kody genuinely believes that his laser focus on Robyn was justified, that somehow the other wives should have understood and accepted their secondary status. He even went so far as to say that the other wives just couldn't handle that he wanted to keep her safely kept, as if their pain was unreasonable, as if their jealousy was some character flaw instead of a natural response to being abandoned by the man who promised to love them equally. And here's where Meri's comment gains even more weight. Because the Kody who made those vows, who convinced 4 women to share him, who built an entire life around the principle of plural marriage, would never have said something so callous. That version of Kody at least pretended to care about fairness. He at least went through the motions of dividing his time and attention. But this new Kody, he doesn't even bother with the pretense anymore. He admits his favoritism openly and then acts confused when his family implodes. The house itself became a symbol of everything wrong with the family dynamic. Robyn's house wasn't just a building. It was the physical manifestation of Kody's priorities. It was the place where he spent most of his time, where he felt most comfortable, where he was safely keeping the only wife he actually wanted. And every other wife knew it. They could feel the inequality in their bones. They watched him rush to Robyn's door while their own calls went unanswered. So when Meri says Kody used to be kind, she's remembering a man who at least tried to hide his favoritism, a man who made an effort even if it was shallow. The transformation isn't subtle. It's a complete personality overhaul that left everyone wondering who this stranger is. To truly understand the devastation of Meri's comment, we need to rewind the clock and remember discover who Kody Brown actually was before everything fell apart. Because there was a time, believe it or not, when Kody was magnetic. He was charming. He was the kind of guy who could convince not just one woman, but 4 different women to share their lives with him. And that takes a specific kind of charisma that the current version of Kody simply doesn't possess anymore. Go back and watch the early seasons of Sister Wives. The man on those episodes is almost unrecognizable compared to the bitter, defensive person we see now. Early Kody had this infectious energy. He was playful with his wives. He wrestled with his kids. He genuinely seemed excited about the idea of building this big, beautiful, unconventional family. There was lightness to him, there was joy, and yes, there was kindness in his eyes that Meri is now mourning like it's a deceased relative. The wives fell for that version of Kody for good reason. He sold them a dream. He promised them sister wives who would become best friends. He painted this picture of a household filled with love and support, where the children would thrive surrounded by multiple mother figures. He made plural marriage sound not just viable, but actually preferable to traditional monogamy. And for a while, some of them believed it. Christine especially bought into the vision completely. That Kody knew how to make each wife feel special, at least occasionally. He'd crack jokes with Janelle. He'd have deep conversations with Meri. He'd romance Christine with his boyish charm. And when Robyn entered the picture, he turned on the full force of that charisma and swept her off her feet. The problem is that version of Kody required effort. It required him to stretch himself thin, trying to be everything to everyone. It required constant performance. And somewhere along the line, he got tired of performing. Or maybe he just decided he didn't need to anymore. Once Robyn was firmly established in the family, once he found the wife who truly captured his heart, maintaining the facade with the others became too much work. The light in his eyes that Meri talks about, that was the light of someone genuinely trying, even if imperfectly, to make plural marriage work. When that effort died, so did the light. The transformation didn't happen overnight. It was gradual, season by season, year by year. But looking back now, the contrast is jarring. The man who once gathered his entire family for games and adventures now can't even be bothered to show up for most of his children. If we're being honest about when everything started to shift, we have to talk about the moment Robyn Brown entered the family, because that's when the cracks that were always there started turning into canyons. Robyn wasn't just another wife joining an established plural family. She was a catalyst. She was the variable that changed the entire equation. And whether she intended to or not, her arrival marked the beginning of the end for the Kody everyone thought they knew. Here's where it gets complicated though, because there's a theory floating around that actually makes a lot of sense when you really think about it. What if Robyn didn't come into this family planning to monopolize Kody's attention? What if she genuinely wanted to be part of a plural marriage, but she made one critical miscalculation? She expected Kody to actually be a husband to her, a real one, not the bare minimum, emotionally absent version that the other wives had learned to accept. By the time Robyn joined the family, Christine, Janelle, and Meri had already been beaten down by years of Kody's neglect. They'd learned not to expect too much. They'd adjusted their standards so low that simply having him show up occasionally felt like a victory. They'd convinced themselves that the scraps of attention he threw their way were enough, because asking for more only led to disappointment and conflict. They'd accepted a certain level of misery as normal in plural marriage. But Robyn didn't have that conditioning yet. She came in fresh with expectations intact. Sources close to the family have noted that Robyn would actually tell Kody he needed to come put the kids to bed. She'd ask him to be present for family activities. She'd set boundaries and make requests that the other wives had long since stopped making because they knew it was pointless. And here's the kicker. Because Kody actually loved her, because he was genuinely attracted to her in a way he hadn't been with the others in years, he was willing to meet those expectations. He'd show up for Robyn. He'd put her kids to bed. He'd be the involved husband she expected him to be. And this created an absolutely catastrophic imbalance in the family. The other wives watched in real time as Kody became the husband they'd always wanted him to be, but only for Robyn. It wasn't that Robyn was necessarily scheming to steal him away. It was that she refused to accept the level of neglect the others had normalized, and Kody chose to rise to her standards instead of maintaining equity across all his relationships. So the question becomes, was Robyn trying to create a monogamous marriage from day one, or was she simply expecting what any wife would reasonably expect from a husband, and Kody's willingness to give it to her destroyed everything else? Let's circle back to the moment that really exposes just how far Kody has fallen from the man he used to be. The confession that he was focused on keeping Robyn safely kept isn't just problematic because of the favoritism it reveals. It's the shocking lack of self-awareness that makes it truly mind-blowing. Kody actually sat there on camera and explained his reasoning like it was perfectly logical, like anyone watching would naturally understand why one wife deserved protection while the others could fend for themselves. themselves. Think about what that statement really means. Keeping Robyn safely kept during what, exactly? The pandemic gave Kody the perfect excuse to completely abandon his other families while camping out at Robyn's house indefinitely. He claimed it was about health protocols and safety measures, but everyone could see through that paper-thin justification. He wanted to be with Robyn, he felt comfortable with Robyn, and he used a global crisis as cover to finally do what he'd probably wanted to do for years, which was just be with her and forget the others existed. But here's where it gets even more infuriating. Kody acts like the other wives were unreasonable for being upset about this arrangement. He genuinely cannot comprehend why Christine, Janelle, and Meri would feel jealous or abandoned. In his mind, he was doing the right thing by keeping Robyn safe. The fact that his other wives and children also needed safety and support somehow never entered the equation. The cognitive dissonance is absolutely staggering. And then he drops that line about how the other wives just couldn't handle it, like their pain was a personal failing on their part, like they were being difficult by expecting their husband to care about them too. The audacity of framing himself as the reasonable one while calling his abandoned wives jealous and problematic is exactly the kind of thing that makes Meri's comment about his transformation so devastating. Because the old Kody, the kind one with light in his eyes, would never have been so blatantly cruel. The emotional baggage tied to that house became impossible to ignore. Every time the other wives drove past Robyn's place knowing Kody was inside, every time their kids asked why dad wasn't coming over, every time they tried to reach him and got excuses instead of answers, that house became a monument to their insignificance. It represented everything wrong with how Kody practiced plural marriage. One wife got the palace and the prince, the others got emptiness and broken promises. What's truly shocking is that Kody seems to think this admission somehow exonerates him, like explaining his reasoning makes it acceptable, but all it really does is confirm what everyone already suspected. He stopped caring about being fair. He stopped caring about the feelings of 3/4 of his family. He chose Robyn, fully and completely, and expected everyone else to just accept their demotion without complaint. That's not the behavior of a kind man. That's not someone with light in their eyes. That's someone who's become entirely self-serving. But here's where the story takes an absolutely delicious, ironic twist. After destroying 3 marriages to be with Robyn, after prioritizing her above everyone else, after burning down his entire family structure to keep her safely kept, Kody might not even be getting what he wanted. Because the current tension between Kody and Robyn reveals a relationship that's far from the romantic paradise he sacrificed everything to create. Kody has been vocal, almost embarrassingly so, about wanting more public displays of affection from Robyn. He wants her to be flirty in public. He wants that touchy-feely dynamic where she's constantly showing the world how much she wants him. And in one particularly cringeworthy moment, he actually said he wants Robyn to slap his butt in public. That's when he'll know she's finally comfortable with the level of public affection he craves. Let that image sink in for a moment. This is what he wants. This is his relationship goal. But Robyn, she's not giving him that. Sources close to the family suggest she's actually uncomfortable with all the attention Kody wants to shower on her now. She's not interested in the constant PDA. She doesn't want to be the center of his universe in such an obvious public way. And this creates a fascinating paradox. The woman Kody destroyed his family for doesn't actually want the kind of relationship he's trying to force on her. Robyn has said multiple times, whether genuinely or for the cameras, that she wanted to be part of a plural family. She claims she didn't sign up for monogamy. She thought there would be other wives to share the load, to provide that buffer that plural marriage supposedly offers. And now that she's the only wife left standing, she's realizing that being Kody's sole focus isn't actually what she wanted. The intensity of his attention, his neediness, his constant desire for validation through physical affection, it's all too much. The irony is absolutely brutal. Kody spent years neglecting 3 wives to focus on the one he truly loved, and now that one is pulling away from the very attention he's desperate to give. He wanted her to be exclusively his, and now that she is, she's not playing the role he envisioned. She's not the grateful, affectionate wife he thought he'd earned by choosing her over everyone else. And you have to wonder if Robyn is looking at Kody now, seeing who he's become in the process of destroying his family for her, and questioning whether this is really what she wanted. Because the man sitting across from her demanding butt slaps and public displays of affection isn't exactly the spiritual patriarch she married. He's bitter, he's defensive, he's lost 3 wives and the respect of most of his children. That light Meri talked about, Robyn can probably see it's gone too. And maybe, just maybe, she's realizing that being the favorite wife of a man who's lost himself isn't actually the prize she thought it would be. This brings us to one of the most fascinating theories circulating among fans and insiders who've watched this family drama unfold for years. Did Robyn actually want monogamy from the beginning? Or is the truth far more complicated and nuanced than that simple narrative? Because there's a possibility that everyone has been reading this situation wrong, and the real story is somehow even more tragic than the version where Robyn was a calculated homewrecker. What if Robyn genuinely believed in plural marriage when she joined the family? What if she really did want to be part of this big, unconventional family unit? But here's the critical distinction. What if she wanted to be part of a plural family while still having a husband who actually acted like a husband? Not the checked-out, emotionally unavailable version that the other wives had learned to tolerate, but an actual partner who showed up and did the work of being married. This theory actually explains so much. By the time Robyn entered the picture, the other 3 wives had already been conditioned to expect almost nothing from Kody. Years of disappointment had taught them not to ask for too much. They'd accepted that he was too busy, too stretched thin, too focused on his own needs to really be present for them. They'd lowered their expectations to the basement and convinced themselves that this bare minimum version of marriage was just how plural families worked. But Robyn didn't have that beaten down mentality yet. She came in with normal expectations for what a marriage should look like. She expected Kody to be involved with the children. She expected him to show up for important moments. She expected communication and emotional availability. These weren't outrageous demands. They were just basic relationship standards that the other wives had stopped requiring because asking for them only led to conflict and disappointment. And because Kody was genuinely in love with Robyn, because she stirred something in him that the others no longer did, he was willing to meet those expectations. He'd show up when she asked. He'd put the kids to bed. He'd be the engaged, present husband she expected him to be. This wasn't necessarily Robyn manipulating him or demanding special treatment. It was simply her refusing to accept the level of neglect that had become normalized in the family, combined with Kody's willingness to be better for her than he ever was for the others. The problem is that this created a catastrophic imbalance. The other wives watched Kody transform into the husband they'd always desperately wanted, but only for Robyn. It wasn't about rigid rules or demands from her. It was about basic expectations met with actual love and effort. And that combination destroyed any remaining hope the other marriages had of surviving. So maybe Robyn really did want plural marriage. Maybe she never intended to become Kody's only wife. But she wasn't willing to sacrifice having an actual husband for the sake of the plural family structure. And Kody, rather than stepping up equally for all his wives, chose to meet her needs while abandoning everyone else. And then there's Meri, standing in the wreckage of everything this family used to be, finally speaking her truth about the man Kody has become. Her position in all of this is uniquely fascinating because she's the only one who stayed long enough to watch the entire transformation play out in real time. Christine left while she still had fight in her. Janelle checked out emotionally years before she physically moved away. But Meri? She held on through everything, which means she has the most complete picture of Kody's evolution from kind patriarch to whatever he is now. What makes Meri's comment about Kody's transformation even more powerful is the context of her own journey. She's been through absolute hell with the catfishing scandal, an incident that should have destroyed her ability to trust anyone online ever again. Yet here she is, actively dating, swiping through profiles, putting herself out there in the digital dating world. The irony is almost poetic. The wife who got burned the worst by online deception is the most open to finding love through dating apps. Insiders close to the family note that watching Meri navigate the dating scene has been both heartbreaking and inspiring. She's in her 50s, trying to figure out what she actually wants in a partner after spending decades with a man who barely acknowledged her existence. She's been refreshingly honest about how difficult it is to find someone at this stage of life, someone who's willing to step into her world and build something new together. She's not looking to compromise or settle anymore. She's done accepting crumbs. And this is where her strength really shows through. Meri could have stayed bitter. She could have let Kody's rejection define the rest of her life. Instead, she's moving forward, dating, exploring possibilities, and most importantly, speaking truth to the man who spent years gaslighting her about the state of their marriage. When she says Kody used to be kind, used to have light in his eyes, she's not pining for the past. She's calling out the present for exactly what it is. The other wives have all commented on Meri's transformation too, but from a different angle. They've watched her find her voice, watched her stop apologizing for taking up space, watched her build a life that doesn't revolve around waiting for Kody's approval. There's a certain poetic justice in the fact that Meri, who Kody emotionally abandoned first, is now the one publicly mourning who he used to be. She's not asking him to come back. She's not trying to fix things. She's simply acknowledging that the man she married is gone. What's particularly striking is that Meri isn't sugarcoating her observations. She's not trying to protect Kody's feelings or maintain some false narrative for the cameras. She's saying what everyone everyone else has been thinking. Kody changed. Kody became someone else. And that someone else isn't kind. That someone else doesn't have light in his eyes. That someone else is barely recognizable as the man who convinced 4 women to build a life with him. But here's a question that cuts even deeper than Meri's observation about Kody's transformation. Does Robyn look at him differently now too? Does she see him as less than what he used to be? As a failure, not just as a husband, but as a man? Because if we're talking about Kody's identity crisis, we have to acknowledge what he failed at on the most fundamental level. He failed at the one thing that defined his entire existence. He failed at plural marriage. In the fundamentalist belief system that Kody and Robyn both subscribe to, plural marriage isn't just a lifestyle choice. It's a religious calling. It's supposed to be the path to the highest level of heaven. A man's worth in that community is measured by his ability to successfully maintain multiple marriages, to keep his wives happy and unified, to build a harmonious plural family that honors God. And Kody didn't just fall short of that goal. He spectacularly crashed and burned in front of millions of viewers. 3 wives left him. 3 entire marriages crumbled. The family he spent years building on television, the family he held up as an example of how beautiful plural marriage could be, completely disintegrated. And in the fundamentalist community where he built his identity, that makes him a categorical failure. Period. There's no spinning that. There's no way to reframe losing 3/4 of your wives as anything other than a massive public collapse. Sources close to the situation suggest that this reality weighs heavily on both Kody and Robyn, even if they don't always say it out loud. When Kody talks about feeling like Robyn sees him as less than, he might actually be picking up on something real. Because how could she not see the failure? She's living in the aftermath of it. She's watching him become increasingly bitter and defensive as he tries to justify why everything fell apart. She's seeing him distance himself from his own children, because facing them means facing his failures. And here's where Kody's desperate need to abandon his religion makes perfect sense. As long as he's still identifying as a fundamentalist plural marriage believer, he's a failure within that framework. There's no escaping it. But if he steps away from the religion entirely, if he rebrands himself as just a regular monogamous guy who happened to lose 3 wives along the way, suddenly the failure doesn't feel quite so crushing. He's not a failed polygamist. He's just a divorced guy in a monogamous relationship. It's damage control for his ego. The problem is that running away from his religious identity doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't give him back the light in his eyes that Meri mourns. It doesn't make him kind again. It just makes him a man hiding from the consequences of his own choices, pretending that redefining the game will somehow change the fact that he lost. And Robyn is watching all of this unfold, stuck with a man who destroyed everything to be with her and now can't even face what he's become. So here we are, watching the final act of a tragedy that's been building for years. 2 people trapped in a relationship neither of them actually wanted, surrounded by the wreckage of the family Kody destroyed to get here. The ultimate question looming over everything is painfully simple. Can this marriage survive when both people seem fundamentally unhappy with what they've ended up with? Kody wanted Robyn so desperately that he sacrificed 3 other marriages, alienated most of his children, and completely transformed into someone unrecognizable. He finally got what he wanted. Robyn is his. She's the only wife left standing. He has her full attention, her exclusive companionship, everything he was apparently craving all those years. But now that he has it, it's not enough. He wants more affection, more public validation, more proof that winning her was worth everything he lost. And she's not giving it to him. Meanwhile, Robyn is stuck being the sole focus of a man who's become increasingly bitter and desperate. She signed up for plural marriage for the buffer and balance that multiple wives supposedly provide. Instead, she got a monogamous marriage with a man who's angry about losing his other relationships while simultaneously refusing to take any responsibility for why they ended. She's watching Kody become more defensive, more isolated from his children, more determined to rewrite history so he's the victim instead of the villain. That can't be easy to live with. The power struggle between them is only going to intensify. Kody needs Robyn to validate his choices, to prove that destroying his family for her was worth it. He needs her to be madly in love, publicly affectionate, completely devoted, but Robyn seems to be pulling back, questioning whether this is really what she wanted, potentially seeing him the way Meri described, as someone who lost the light in his eyes and became something darker. And then there's the ghost of who Kody used to be haunting every conversation. Meri's comment wasn't just shade. stayed. It was a reality check for everyone watching. The kind man with the light in his eyes doesn't exist anymore. That version of Kody, if he was ever real to begin with, died somewhere between making promises to 4 women and breaking all of them. What's left is someone defending the indefensible, justifying the unjustifiable, and desperately trying to make everyone believe that keeping one wife safely kept while abandoning 3 others was somehow noble. Can Kody ever get back to who he was? Can that light return to his eyes? Can he rediscover kindness after years of choosing selfishness? Or is Meri right, and that man is simply gone forever, replaced by someone too damaged and defensive to ever heal? The real tragedy isn't just that Kody changed, it's that he seems to have no interest in changing back. He'd rather rewrite the narrative than face the truth. And Robyn is left wondering if the man she has is worth everything that was destroyed to keep him. So what do you think? Drop your thoughts below, like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next video is waiting, and you won't believe what's coming next.